Gumball is a show with hundreds upon hundreds of characters, but because of this, some of them have been scrapped and completely cut from the show. Today, we're gonna look into what happened to these 36 specific characters, starting with the muffled reporter, who literally just looks like Donald Trump. He was supposed to first appear in the episode The Oracle, and to be honest, I really struggle to see how he would have fit into this. But my theory is he would have been one of the toys at Gumball and Darwin's yard sale, and he would have said a couple lines being a one-time joke character for this episode. But I'm guessing they cut this from the show because they didn't want. To get political. Next, we have Poop Guy. Yes, I'm being serious, Poop Guy. And there's no other information about him except for his concept art. Some other really sus characters, we have literally no other information about. Our Big Hands Box Doc Splatty Buthan Throater word character that cut from the show was Mountain Person. And we know about him because of an early production image. I think he actually could have fit into the show really well. Let's be honest, we've seen weirder things in Gumball. A walking, talking mountain would fit right in, but what about Purple Person? Who was another character that was cut from the show? We know about him because of an early reel. But this wasn't actually an episode because this was posted to one of the creators' YouTube channels in 2010, which was a year before season 1 of Gumball was even released. But this was later removed by Cartoon Network for copyright-related reasons. It was then re-uploaded to YouTube by Ben Paquette under the title Gumball 1-Minute Animation Test on January 18, 2013, and it was not aired on television, and I don't know, there's something about this purple man that just really reminds me of Purple Guy from FNAF. Maybe it's just his name paired with how creepy he looks. Now, we've gone through all the absurd characters. But in this video, we're also going to be going through all of the background characters, the characters I wish were added to the show, all of the characters who were almost made into main characters, and some mystery characters at the end of this video. But first, let's start with some of the characters who deserve to get scrapped from the show. Like Bluefish Brinfischl Dog Brone Puppet, these characters were all supposed to appear in the episode The World, which is a really weird episode of Gumball where a bunch of inanimate objects come to life. And seeing as none of these things really have any importance in the show, these would have just been irrelevant one-time characters. So it makes sense that they were cut. Fragile and Cardboard Person are another two characters that were cut from the show, but Fragile actually appeared in the pilot episode of the show. Nothing is really known about these characters except for their genders. So my theory is that these box people would have actually been a couple. They were added to the show. But I don't really know what their purpose would have been. It seems like they were trying to make them kids though. Next, we have the young teacher, who made an appearance in the episode The Others. In this episode, Gumball has a revelation after opening his mind. He realizes that there's other kids that go to his school there. Others, yes, and believe it or not, some of them have even more interesting lives than you. Peach, like who? I would assume that the young teacher would have been one of the background characters that Gumball sees when he opens his mind, but the most irrelevant background character definitely would have been the snowman. Like, seriously, what would Brove even done except for sitting in the background? Low-key might have been a good thing that he was cut from the show, but now, we're on to the characters I think would have been cool if they were added. Starting with Angel, who was a character so mysterious that there isn't even a picture of them. This is the only scrapped character on the entire wiki where there isn't even an image proving they exist. Something about this makes it cool to me. I wonder what this character would have done if they were added to the show. The next character I think would have been cool is the Circle Person. This is another character we know about just because of concept art, but something about this character looks really creepy. I think if they made an episode with him, it would have definitely been a horror episode. Maybe the plot they had planned with this character was so dark that they had to cut it from the show. But what about the Mosaic Person, who looks like some sort of painting that came to life? Nothing is known about him, but I have to theories for what he could have been used for. My first theory is that he would have been some sort of giant monster that Gumball and Darwin summon in the show. Kind of similar to someone like Gargoth that they summon in the episode The Scam, and similar to how Gargoth was completely made up by Gumball and Darwin, I think the Mosaic creature would have also been revealed to be real later on as a twist. My second theory is that he somehow would have been a monster that came out of a painting. Maybe there could have been an episode where Gumball and Darwin were at a museum at night, and then scary creatures started coming. Another character I think would have been really cool if they were added to the show is Mask, who looks like they could have actually been related to Hector, and their gender isn't confirmed, but assuming that Mask is a girl, maybe there could have been an episode planned where Hector finally gets a girlfriend and met someone his own size for once. Honestly, that could have been a really cool episode. I want to know more about Hector, but what about Pixel, who we only have a couple sprites of, but from looking at them, it seems like they get more and more pixelated as they get mad. And this character kind of reminds me of Masami, who is also a cloud, but instead, when she gets angry, she just turns into a storm. And similar to Mask, I think there's a good chance that Pixel could have been in a relationship with Masami. But what about my boy Seal Kid? Why did they have to do my guy dirty by not adding him to the show? He was supposed to appear in the episode. The same, and judging on how this episode is mostly based around Alan, I think that the Seal Kid could have been a one-time character that appears in school in this episode. And if anyone who works on the Amazing World of Gumball is watching this, please bring back Seal Kid. Just for the one time, come on. Look at him. How could you not make him a one-time character? But what about Tinfoil Kid? And we don't know anything about him besides his concept art and the fact that he's a tinfoil ball. But because he's wearing a hat and a backpack, my theory is that Gumball and Darwin would have got lost in an abandoned place, and Tinfoil Kid would have had to be their tour guide to help them get back home. But another character I wish was added to the show was Orange Eye, and all we have about him is his concept art. But from the looks of the ground he's on, it seems that he's in the void. But in all of the episodes in Gumball where we've seen the void, we haven't seen this character, but this character looks really creepy. Maybe we might see him in the void in the future, but now we're on to the characters who could have almost been main characters, starting with Professor. And we know what he would have been used for because there's a note on his concept art reading, he is one of the teachers. He's really straight, even in his animation, worries about rules and would always suffer from his accidental encounters with Gumball in the school quarters. That would usually let him with all his pieces messed up. At the bottom of his concept art, there is a thing that copyrights the year 2007, so my theory is that he was going to be the main teacher in the show before the creators decided to put Miss Simeon as the teacher instead, or maybe he could have been a completely different teacher in a different school. And since his name is Professor, maybe there could have been an episode where Gumball and Darwin go to college for a day. But what about my boy, the art teacher, who I think could have been another main character? He wasn't cut from the show. He would have appeared in the episode The Others. And as we know from earlier, this is the episode where Gumball opens his eyes and realizes that there's other people that exist in his school. But in this episode, the main character Claire Cooper goes to talk to her teacher. And I think that they were originally going to make this teacher the art teacher, but later decided to replace him for this pixelated frog dude we see in the episode. But what happened to Bachelorette, who was an orange lady who appeared in the episode The Ghouls? And I think that she could have fit perfectly into this episode because it's all Halloween themed. So maybe the main plot was supposed to revolve around this new character, but later, they decided to scrap that plot and go with something else. But what about the cardiac monitor, who was supposed to appear in the episode The Mystery, which is basically a murder mystery-inspired episode where all the characters try to find out who put Principal Brown in Gumball's locker. And judging by how this episode fully takes place in school, I would assume that he would have been one of the students in the school in this episode. And Bobbert has a big role later on, so maybe he was originally supposed to replace Bobbert. Because he's also a robot. Well, those are all the scrapped characters that I could find. Let me know in the comments down below if I missed any characters. You might as well subscribe so you never miss another video.